Is it safe to like look at optical mice?
No.
Like, it's not?
No.
What about laser?
They actually do make a thing like that for your teeth that kills stuff with light, like ultraviolet light.
I think it's just melting the enamel. At least the ones in Miami, they were like $40, and I was like, hey, I should go over there and get my teeth whitened because some random person in a mall said, hey, you drink a lot of coffee, don't you? That's the last thing they ever said. Because they ended up drinking too much coffee.
And had a heart attack?
Yeah.
Right there.
Yep. There was no funnel involved. Maybe there was. Let's look at some inbox questions. This is the inbox. It's the show where we inbox with you guys. We inbox directly with you guys. Is that a verb?
Today's episode of Inbox is sponsored by Stovetop Stuffing.
There's stovetop stuffing all over my freaking desk. It makes me angry. Let's go to the first question here from Alistair or something. He says, Geoverse. Logan, I want to know what you think of the Euclidean Geoverse. No doubt you have heard of it by now, and I am intrigued. This bearded man, his voice must be just like this. I am intrigued to know what your general thoughts are on it. Go! left/m right/. Okay, the Euclidean Geoverse kind of hurts my brain. I understand the why, and I understand the how mostly, but I want to really get into it. It reminds me a lot of what Microsoft was doing a few years ago. And they've got Silverlight going on. What was Sea Wolf or Magic Wolf or
Sea Dragon.
Sea Dragon. Sea Wolf Dragon, Wolf Dragon Magic.
There's a really awesome keynote on YouTube somewhere of a guy, a little nerd from Microsoft, talking about Sea Dragon and photosynth. And this is almost exactly the same technology, at least from my point of view, as Sea Dragon from Microsoft. And those guys were sort of saying that the resolution of your device is what determines, you know, how fast you can move and what you can display and blah, blah, blah. And the size of the data set is irrelevant. And they developed all the proof of concept and software to demonstrate that.
You know, I haven't looked into the Euclidean Geoverse as much as I probably should have, but I wanted to start a conversation about this, and maybe you guys could help educate me a little bit. But one thing I do not understand is they have advertised like unlimited data, but how can the data be greater than the source? You know what I mean? Like, you can't zoom in farther than the source. The idea is that you can zoom out and seamlessly zoom in quickly to look at like really detailed scenarios based upon laser, what is almost like laser image. What would you call that? Laser.
Well, if you only got
topographical laser maps or something.
What you're trying to say is that if you've got half-meter satellite photography, you're not ever going to get any better than half-meter satellite photography.
Yeah. So how is it better than that?
And I don't think it is. I think that they're saying that if you have some sort of vector format, see in the demo that Microsoft did with Sea Dragon, they could dive into a magazine. And so they had a magazine, and it was all vector, it was all print. You know, it was the original like high resolution.
Is there a video of this online somewhere?
Yeah, there's a video online somewhere.
Yeah.
And then they had a BMW ad, and they dive into the BMW ad, and then they just keep zooming and zooming and zooming and zooming in the corners. And it was roughly analogous to like navigating to new pages, like a new web page. So they're like, oh, I'm interested in this model on the BMW, and you click, and it zooms in. And if it was a traditional magazine ad, you would be in an area on the page that was like 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter, but the whole thing filled the screen. So that was kind of neat. But that was, you know, again, mostly a vector-based format. Now, the images weren't vector, of course, but they were really high resolution.
I have to see what they're going to be using this for in the real world, and then no one's replied to this, so this is a new post. So I'm kind of curious to see what everybody else knows and thinks about this and where this technology could be going. Could be interesting for a few different applications, but as of this point, I do not have enough of an education to make an educated response. A bug with Tech Syndicate's website from Andre the Great. Look at this bug here. Okay, I see what's going on right now. He's got when you go down to a certain width on the website, when you do like half of a page or whatever, if you go like shrink the website down, it turns into like a mobile version, and that's to enable I guess larger images and full width posts, which is pretty snazzy. But we have a z-index problem. I'm sorry about that. We'll be fixing that. It's fixed. By the time you're watching this, it's fixed. So yeah, that's how fast we are. Like we just saw that program, and this is live broadcast right now. So
yeah, actually, and one of the developers was already working on that anyway. So it's like, yeah, we knew. It's cool. We're actually doing a lot of things on the site in order to make way for more things on the site. So we've done a good job keeping the drywall dust to a minimum, but you're going to occasionally inhale some drywall dust.
And, you know, we're not just doing like what YouTube does, where YouTube, they have a site and they keep like doing really cool things and then taking those features away. Like they had some features that I really loved on the website, like the ability to upload something and then before it went live, it would ask you to click post. So you could upload something and then wait for a certain thing to be done, or you could post a corresponding website article and then you click post at the same time. But it doesn't do that anymore. They took that feature away. But you know what? I've noticed something about YouTube. Lately, they've been adding all kinds of Easter eggs. You know, like where you just click on the white space and type 1337, and it turns everything into leet speak. Or where you click on the white space and you type 1980 and it lets you play asteroids or whatever. Yeah, they're doing a great job with all the freaking Easter eggs, but why don't they fix the damn thing? Yeah, we're not doing that. We're fixing stuff. Yeah, you guys can have Easter eggs later. There may actually be some Easter eggs on there that I haven't told anybody about. But
yeah, we're definitely fixing stuff, and it's only been like that a little while anyway. So.
You know what? Stop all fixing stuff. we need secrets to turn the website into leet speak, because that's fun for all of 8 seconds.
We got a low battery.
Oh. Dual monitor setup. Okay, so I have an LG TV set up as a second monitor. I made it my main monitor so I could test out Steam's big picture mode. My question is, how do I set up my LG TV to 1920 by 1080 at 120 Hz in the AMD Vision Engine Controller Center? All I see in the settings are 60 Hz. I imagine you are running that, sir, with your HDMI. And yes. HDMI is not going to give you 120 Hz.
No.
You'll need...
unless it's HDMI 1.4, which if your TV has that, it would be unlikely.
I would doubt that his TV would have that. So you want to check your HDMI specifications.
You might be able to swap a HDMI cable and do that, but it's likely that it doesn't do that. A lot of the 120 Hz TVs don't do full res at 120 Hz, or they require something special to do that. So if you have a special 120 Hz TV, double check your cable.
You know, we get a lot of questions like this. Want to learn more about computers. Hello, I've been very interested in computer hardware for the last 6-7 months, and I have learned a good deal, but I still find myself wondering about some things you talk about. Therefore, I am asking for advice on how to learn more about computers. Are there any sites where I can read about the more technical side of computers? Sorry if it sounds dumb, and I do want to learn all about all the components that make up the computers, like motherboard, GPU, CPU, RAM, etc., etc. Any help is appreciated. Sorry for my English if there is any misspelling. Remember, English isn't my first language. It's Norwegian. We're
going to have to get some Reader Rabbit on the inbox.
So you're Norwegian. Do they have computers in Norway yet?
That's not inflammatory at all.
That's a third world country, right? They have books. Norway is like on the top of my list of places to go for a few reasons. The people look awesome. Black metal. Cold weather. I'm there.
What's not to like?
Yeah. And soon roads that charge your car while you're driving. Hopefully soon. Okay, maybe there's some stuff in the comments, but...
He did the right thing, joining the forums.
Yeah, you join the forums here. Ask your questions. Also note that everything in the forum is not about hardware. We had someone blow up on me, and, you know, we had a little fit because they were angry that the entire forum wasn't filled with nothing but hardware. And there's several other forums on the forum that allow you to talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about, and we are all individuals, and we may talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. So, having said that, you want to go find a job so you can get your hands dirty. Sitting around and reading is fun, but you'll learn faster, in my opinion, if you're actually doing something. So start looking for nerd jobs, even if they do not pay a lot, and start getting some real-world experience. You're going to run into problems that you never would have dreamed of looking at things on the internet, and you can learn all day. But
start collecting hardware.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Start collecting and playing with things. Just go on to your local, like, whatever website that you buy and sell. So we have Craigslist here in the country, but get some old junky hardware, try to break it, try to do things wrong with it. That sounds awful.
Set up some virtual machines, try out some different operating systems, just go nuts.
Just do stuff, man. And usually if you do stuff with a purpose, like, hey, I want to build my own NAS. I want to build my own virtual machine. Or I want to set up a virtual machine. I want to set up a Linux virtual machine, run Windows, and then run an emulator inside that. Do stuff like that. Challenge yourself. And I think that will be a lot of fun. Anything else to add to that? All right. Let's see here what else we have. Okay, how about this one, Wendell? Will programming become obsolete?
Nope. Next question. What kind of question is that? I mean, honest to God. Will programming become... No, it won't.
It's like asking if breathing will always be necessary.
Even on Star Trek, they had programming. I mean, the interfaces are going to get better and better.
He's wondering if AI can take over mainly and do the programming for us.
AI can probably take over to a point, but you have to understand more about AI, and that AI is most likely going to be a logic engine, and I think that it's going to be a long time. Even like, I think that we're probably going to have sentient AI in my lifetime, but I think that the thing that it is to be human, the leap of intuition and things like that, I don't think that's going to be captured probably for another 100 or 150 years or 200 years maybe. So maybe at that point programming wouldn't really be relevant anymore, but at that point we will have created something we no longer understand or control. So that's probably going to be bad.
So you're saying that the AI probably will not have as many eureka moments as humans would?
I don't think so. But at the same time, the AI is going to have a form of programming.
Do you think an AI would be able to make, let's say, like you go and you tell an AI to do something. Do you think an AI would be able to independently decide to just research certain things or try to solve certain problems?
No, but I'm thinking about an inference engine, and it's like if A then B, if B then C. Therefore, if A then C. And a more elaborate, complicated version of that can prescribe a regimen for doing specific kinds of lab tests and things like that. And those kind of expert systems are already in place in a lot of research labs and R&D institutions and things like that. So I think that an AI will probably have those type of things, but at the end of the day, you're still going to need programming. Like, people are still going to need to be able to tweak it, but how that is changes. Like, most people do not do assembler programming for business case stuff anymore. I mean, it's still around a little bit, but most people are using higher level languages. As machines become more powerful and we have better tools at our disposal, especially with things like distributed computing, and you have technologies like Hadoop for cluster programming and things like that. So things get more and more abstract to run at a higher and higher level, so things get easier, so that you're not sort of down in the weeds doing everything manually. The paradigms change, but it's not to the point where you can just tell it what you need to do and it does it.
So, Bejulian, or Bajulian, shall we say? TLDL, that's too long, didn't listen. Here's the, here's the person that answer. In your lifetime, there will always need, you will always have human involvement needed.
Yes. You'll always have to have intelligent people, because as the languages get easier, the people get dumber, and you're still going to need the intelligent people.
This is from DZback. Zayback. All right, good name. I don't know what it means. Dear Logan, why not everybody else? Just me. I noticed that you have a great taste in desktop backgrounds, but where do you get them from? I just Google whatever I want. If I want, like, hey, Metroid art. I started Googling video game art, and got video game artwork, or just stuff like that. And I started finding some interesting things. A lot of them came from DeviantArt, and some of the ones I've been using recently are from their concept art from that game Remember Me, which I didn't have any interest in playing, but I thought the artwork was interesting. And that was before Capcom got involved and kind of Capcomed all over it.
Check out wallpapers.cc.
There's a lot of fun stuff there too. That's where you get a lot of yours from, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I've been collecting wallpapers since 800 by 600. So I've got a very eclectic wallpaper collection spanning the better part of a decade. But wallbase.cc has some interesting modern stuff, and it's all in one place. But the really interesting stuff, not in one place, and you're pretty much going to have to collect it by hand. Yeah, just figure out what you like. Go to DeviantArt, look for things there. Be careful though, because you're going to get a lot of weirdness. But yay, that's half the fun, is sifting through the weirdness. All right, I've not read any of these questions, by the way. Video quality and file size balance from Apache Gamer 21. I'm starting to record gameplay with Open Broadcaster and really like it, and the files it records have a good balance of quality and size, but whenever I go into Sony Vegas to render, I would usually go straight to .mp4 to render, but for some reason the file goes from being a few hundred megabytes to almost 2 gigabytes. I would like to know if there's anything I can do to lower the file size, but with lower video quality, but without the lower video quality to keep. See, okay, okay, I know what you want. Those are very large files, but I don't know what's wrong. First off, what's wrong with using them straight out of Open Broadcaster? And once you get them into Vegas, you're going to want to check your bitrate settings, and probably the codec version too.
Yeah.
I think Open Broadcaster might use a strange codec.
But it is weird that it's larger than the original files from Open Broadcaster.
It's like converting the screen capture into like movie format or something.
It's like upsampling it or something.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're going to want to make sure that you're doing, you say you're doing MP4. Are you doing H.264 MP4 or are you doing some other MP4? MP4 is just basically a wrapper. And so what's going on behind the scenes? Make sure you're doing H.264 and just make sure your bit rate is, I mean, if you're doing an Open Broadcaster, you're probably like 10 is your bit rate or whatever, I would imagine. 10,000. Looks like he's already solved this problem, but we wanted to talk about it on the show anyway. Yeah, the bit rate. What do you know, the bit rate?
We guessed correctly. We get a cookie.
Your first video game. Hi, Logan and Wendell. I was wondering what the first video game you played was. Do you remember? You remember the system?
Yeah, well, I want to say that I played the Atari. I didn't play
2600 or was it?
Yeah, it was the Atari 2600, and I don't remember what game it was, but I remember thinking that was really awesome, and I think sort of on a lark, my parents got the original Nintendo instead of the Atari 2600 because the Atari 2600 had been out for a while, and like that Christmas was the Christmas that the the regular Nintendo came out, and it came with Super Mario and Duck Hunt, and that was the only game I had for like a year.
I don't remember the name of the game that I played originally on the Atari, but it was like, it reminded me of Gauntlet, like the original Gauntlet, but it was called like Dundee's Maze or something like that, or Dundee's Dungeon, or something weird like that. I don't even, if you Google it, I think it was an alternate name for a game that already existed, like Gauntlet or whatever, or it was a spin-off of Gauntlet. But
the Atari game was just barely fun, but also really irritating. Like, I remember playing it, trying to be like, I don't understand the point of this game, but I don't have anything better to do, so I'm going to do it. And so, I don't know. And then I ended up with a Nintendo, and then that was pretty much that was pretty much over at that point. Like the RF adapter that it came with, I had to have that, and like the thing that adapted it to like the two flat wires or something. Like,
oh, you had one of those TVs with the two little hooked wires?
It was so...
Wow, that's like old school.
I couldn't see Mario on like half the screen. It was pretty crazy.
You know, I wasn't allowed to play Mario Brothers. My mother went to this religious thing, and they told her that Mario was a warlock because he mixed up a potion in Mario 2 and, you know, threw the potion on the ground and it made a portal to another realm. Remember Mario 2 where you could, like...
Oh, well, I mean, in fairness, Mario 2 was completely messed up and strange.
Well, also, in Mario Part 1, he would eat a mushroom and magically grow, and that was magic, and that was satanic. And I was like, what? I'm not allowed to play this anymore because of a fire flower and a mushroom, and... Yeah.
I don't even understand. That doesn't make any sense.
I never understood, like, the fun... I don't know. Fun.
I guess if you traveled back in time and had a Quaker come forward, that's how they would interpret that, but beyond that, it defies explanation.
We are off on all sorts of tangents in this video, so this is the end of this one.
It's an inbox timeout. We have to have an inbox timeout because we don't even know.
Yeah. Wait, it's not over yet. We have to threaten them. People were worried about threats. This threat, should I go to their house in this threat like I usually do?
I'm gonna reach through the screen.
So what happens right now is I'm going to encourage you to subscribe, and you really, really need to subscribe. If you're already subscribed, you're blanketed, you're covered, everything's good. But if you do not subscribe right now, you are going to wake up on the back of a yak on a cold mountain wearing nothing, not knowing where you are, and there's going to be 6 bottles of ketchup strapped to the yak for no reason. And you're going to have to figure out how to get off that mountain using nothing but those bottles of ketchup and sinews and hairs from the yak. Good luck.
You may not even be in your home country.
There's no guarantees at all. All bets are off. I'll see you next time. I'm not a phone person, and I mean, I think that kind of maybe it hurts the website. I don't know. I really could care less about phones. I do like 3 things with phones. I check some things. Sometimes I don't play games on my phones. I don't goof off on my phones other than Reddit, and I make phone calls even though I hate phone calls. So The speaker on my phone doesn't even really work. I'm just not a phone person. I could care less about phones. They're good for GPS and that sort of thing. But even that, I even find their GPS lacking in the sense that it's reliant upon like 3G or 4G connection. You need that in order to make the original route. I wish the entire phone could be, the entire map could be stored on the phone, because I go to some weird places all the time and I'm like, damn it, I got no data. I'm going to have to like just feel my way through this town because I don't have an atlas with me. Always carry an atlas with you for when you're in the middle of nowhere. Or just be big enough to knock anybody out that bothers you. I try to do both. Next question in this was, you think it's a good idea for Ubuntu to be making a phone specifically designed for their OS as a guideline for future phones? Or do you think this is going to become a race between Ubuntu and the phone industry? An answer would be appreciated, so thanks in advance. You guys are amazing. I value your opinion like a god. Are you saying that you're like a god and you value our opinion, or you value our opinion like that of the opinion of God? Because I read this, you guys are amazing. I value your opinion like a god. Like
either way, it's super weird.
Like you're the god valuing our opinion. I'm going to look at it that way, because that'd be really cool if God called and he's like, hey, dude, I need your opinion on this. So I'm thinking about creating another subcontinent over near Cambodia, but it's going to be warm and humid, and I'm not sure about like land wars and stuff like that. But what if the food's really good and we have some kind of touristy thing going on, and we'll make sure that the religion is not like oppressive and backwards? Would that be good? And I'm like, yeah, God, that'd be great. I'll go.
I don't know where we've gone, but this is a scary place.
I think we're supposed to be talking about phones or something.
Something about phones. I don't remember. Next question.
Like a god. I think it's good for the industry because it's going to push the technology. Because 128 megabytes of memory and like all that stuff that's going on with the Ubuntu phone. Yeah, I'll take that, and I'll let them, shame the other developers for their small
128 megabytes.
Gigabytes. They say megabytes.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, 128 megabytes is good for 1980. If our time machine was working.